Well, welcome to MCTV. With me is Brian Murphy. Brian, you're running for governor, Republican candidate for governor.
Yes, sir.
We're happy to have you here. Part of what we like to do at MCTV is have candidates on. It's part of informing the public about positions and other matters of interest to voters. So we're happy to have you here, and we're happy to get your message out.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. So why are you doing this?
That's a great
It's not
question.
easy, right?
No, it's not, but it's really exciting. I think it's actually a great time for our country. I think that people have lost faith in our government, but not faith in our people. And our government really is in a bad way. We don't have people making decisions that really understand the importance of the private sector, where jobs come from, the damage that taxes do on businesses. And I'm running, it's kind of selfish, I want to stay in Maryland. That's really why I'm running. And I'm afraid that I'm the only candidate who I've signed a no new tax pledge. I'm going to be aggressive with addressing the increases in real estate property taxes. And I'm hoping that when I'm old and gray, my kids will be in Maryland. That's my goal.
Well, that's great. So you from Maryland?
Well, I am. It's funny, I actually was born in Connecticut. My older brother was born 2 years before me in Massachusetts. I was born in Connecticut in a rural town called Putnam. 2 years after that.
Moving in the right direction, south.
Moving south. Well, then we moved to North Carolina.
2
years after that. Then 2 years after that, moved again in North Carolina. My dad was with Black & Decker. Then moved to Easton when I was in 2nd grade. Then 2 years after that, moved to Towson, and my dad said, "We're done. We live in Easton."
It's like being in the Army.
You know, it really was. And my dad, we moved around a lot, and my dad was a great sailor, and he fell in love with the area, and he said, "This is where we live."
I think that moving's a good experience for you, for a young person, to adjust.
It was, and it's funny because, you know, in Easton, when I was growing up here, if you're not 3rd generation, you're not from here. So people say, "Are you from the Eastern Shore?" And I always kind of say, well, not really, even though I grew up in Easton. I went to Easton Middle School, Easton High School. I went to the University of Maryland. I mean, Maryland is definitely my home.
That's great. When is the primary?
September 14th.
Okay, and how many candidates are there?
Right now there's just 2. It's me and the former governor, Bob Ehrlich, and I like him, but we disagree on pretty much every major policy issue, and that's why I think we should have a primary.
Yeah, well, that's good. That makes a lot of sense.
Makes life easier.
Well, it's formidable, right? I mean, it's a credit to your courage, I think, because Bob's well-known quantity here in the state. He's been the governor before.
That's absolutely right, and I really was inspired I was at Jack Kemp's funeral, and I never knew Jack, but Jimmy Kemp's a good friend of mine, and our wives, you know, we go to church together, our kids play together, and the first Kemp I ever met was Tommy Kemp, and Tommy was Jack's grandson. And we went to the funeral to stand with Jimmy and the family and support them when they lost their father. And I was just so inspired by the legacy of Jack Kemp and his ideas of empowering small businesses, empowering Americans to do great things. And people know that it was really Jack Kemp that introduced, you know, tax cuts to stimulate the economy to Ronald Reagan. Jack Kemp made Ronald Reagan Ronald Reagan. And so I was just so inspired, and I looked around and said, where's Jack Kemp today? Where's the next Jack Kemp? And I didn't see it. I think we desperately need it. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to fight hard for this. And that's what we're doing.
Well, that's good. Well, I like what you said about the private sector.